There literally is nothing greater in sports than a Game 7 in playoff NBA basketball, and we were blessed with one yesterday. But not only were we blessed with the Game 7, family, we were blessed with a phenomenal series. Nuggets, they went down 2-0, then they tied it 2-2, then the T-Wolves, they go down 3-2, then the T-Wolves end up winning the series 4-3. It was absolutely phenomenal. It's going to be a phenomenal show. Shady, get me started. Were you more impressed with the T-Wolves yesterday, or were you more disappointed with the Nuggets?
You said the champs?
Champs.
I want the T-Wolves, right? To beat the champ, you got to actually go beat the champ.
Yes, sir.
That's what they did. That's why I love in boxing, right? They always talk about, oh, he got robbed. No, can't rob the champ. You got to go take what the champ has, take his belt, take his crown, and take that. That's what Ant-Man, that's what the Timberwolves, they did. Let's just talk about the game. So they were up about 20 points, right? First half, Jamal Murray couldn't miss, right? Up the pick and roll, this, that, and the third, 3 balls, layups, whatever he wanted. As a group, they played so well. The Timberwolves is coming, though. Halftime, we made adjustments. All right, Ant-Man, you're not shooting well offensively. Cool. What about defense? You got Jamal Murray. Second half, was he not locked up? Locked up. And then our defense player of the year, right, who we love to say is, I won't even get into him. Some of the part of him not being on the court, they played really, really well, surprisingly, on defense. Right? You asked Reed, the 6th man of the year, to come in and make some shots, play some defense. He did that. Karl Anthony Towns. I've been looking for you, bro.
We've been looking.
I seen the first game you was showing up. I ain't find you since.
We've been looking.
Last night, you showed up. You double-teaming Ant-Man. We need another score to take place. What did you do? Had a small defender on you, and you took advantage of that. Karl Anthony Towns, you deserve your credit. And then last but not least, I got to talk about the heart. When you're talking about beating the champ, talking about beating the MVP, talking about beating a team that has so much chemistry, so much bond, how do you do that? By heart, no matter how much you down. And once they got the game close in the second half, they took over. I started seeing them boys locking up at half court, picking the ball off. How many times you seen Jamal Murray get picked, right? It came in the game with all type of millions. He lost with 0, right? All in his pocket. So I just want to give a lot of credit to the Timberwolves. A lot of people count them out, like myself. When you go up 2-0 on the road against the defending champs, I think it's going to be a sweep. Got to go back home. They lost all at home. They came back, they won, then they won another one in Denver. They took over. I got to give love to Ant-Man. Even though he didn't shoot the ball well, he had big moments on defense, stealing the ball, and on hitting big-time threes and scoring when he needed to score. And then Mike Conley, though. Talk about a veteran. He shot the ball bad all game. Soon, when they started double-teaming Ant-Man, getting out the game, pass, Conley in the corner a couple times, trade ball. I love basketball, and I love the game I seen last night. It's going to be a good matchup, though, against them.
Great matchup. Great matchup. But before we look ahead, let's look back. Joy Taylor, impressed or disappointed? Where you stand?
I'm very, very impressed with the Timberwolves. Very, very impressed. I said it. Try to tell everybody. It's a 7-game series.
For a reason.
We got to let it breathe. We got to let it breathe. There's a lot that can happen. The series isn't over. It's over now.
It's over now, though.
It's over now. And even during the game, they're down 20. I'm watching this game like...
You do a lot.
I'm like, it's not even going to be a game.
When they was down 20, I did do a live bet. It was like plus 17. Took that. Yeah. We won.
Frustrating. So frustrating. This is how we got to watch Game 7 go down. I want it to be competitive. It was a beautiful, gorgeous, cinematic thriller of a Game 7. That's what a Game 7 is supposed to look like. You take down the champ. They don't play their best. They get back in it. Ant isn't his best. It doesn't matter. Where's Towns? Towns was in Jokic's face. In Jokic's face.
That was nice to say.
Thank you. In Jokic's face. All game. A dog last night.
But can you do one thing for me real quick? All right, and I hate to, dim some light on the Timberwolves' performance. But I have a hard time watching the defense player of the year.
Yeah,
4-time winner.
We will get to him.
Right, I'm say real quick. And then the MVP, we play the same position. We play the same position.
You're not,
Why the...
That's bad math.
You're not guarding him.
Okay, I hear you. But
they won.
But they did win.
Towns was better. Towns was better. And good on them for making the adjustment.
That's true.
Right?
Okay.
Gobert definitely contributed as well. His 13 points, he contributed, and they moved some things around. All right, none of that matters to me. That's a regular season award anyway. All right, because Towns stepped up. It was beautiful. Gobert had the turnaround. He did have the turnaround. He had the fadeaway.
And the form was it was like janky, but the ending was kind of good.
And search your soul. You ain't think that was going in?
Hey, results.
No. I know it's going in.
Okay, well, Shady
Games like that, the clock
Shady
going
was
down.
going in. Look, I thought it was a brilliant performance by the Timberwolves. I mean, you got to give credit where credit's due. If you have the greatest comeback in Game 7 history, that's on you. You have to go and take that. The Nuggets could not get back in it once they started getting on a roll. That's so hard to do. It was a spectacular performance. I loved watching every second of it. I would love to just sit down and rewatch it. It was amazing.
No, I agree with that. I don't think there's a wrong answer with that. But to Joy's point, if the Timberwolves have the greatest comeback in Game 7 history, what's that mean? It means the Nuggets have the greatest collapse in Game 7 history.
Sure.
So I'm disappointed in the Denver Nuggets. I'm disappointed in the Denver Nuggets because you lost Game 7. I'm disappointed in the Denver Nuggets because you lost Game 7 at home at altitude. I'm disappointed in the Denver Nuggets because you lost Game 7 at home at altitude when their best player had 16 points. I'm disappointed in the Denver Nuggets because you lost Game 7 at home at altitude when their best player had 16 points and your second best player had 35 points. I'm disappointed in the Denver Nuggets because you lost Game 7 at home at altitude when their best player had 16 points, your second best player had 35 points, and you held a 20-point third quarter lead. I'm disappointed in the Denver Nuggets because you had everything going right through roughly 28 minutes of basketball, and you watched it all go wrong, and you did nothing about it. So I'm disappointed in the Denver Nuggets, not because the T-Wolves were not phenomenal, but I'm disappointed in the Nuggets because the Nuggets should have kept the T-Wolves from doing what the T-Wolves did. Now, shout out to the T-Wolves for doing it. Like Joy said, like Shady said, if you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. But Nuggets, how in the world do you have a historical collapse when you have the best player in the history of basketball currently playing, which is Jokić? Not the best player in the history of basketball, the best player currently playing. How you let that happen? Again, if Steph would have let that happen in his prime, Joy Taylor, if Giannis would have let that happen in his prime, if LeBron would have let that happen in his prime, they would be getting cooked. Now, Jokić had 35, like 17 and 7. I'm not blaming Jokić. But Aaron Gordon, where you at?
4 points.
Michael Porter Jr., this was not the game to go incompetent on the basketball court. This was not the game for it. KCP, where you at? Bron, you were scared to shoot the basketball. Now, shout out to your defensive efforts and your defensive performances, but you were scared to shoot the basketball. You passing up wide open trays, so Jamal Murray and Joker can't do it by themselves. And lastly, I'm disappointed in the Denver Nuggets because they tapped. We'll get to that later, but they tapped.
Wait, Jamal Murray don't get no smoke? Fourth quarter can get locked up.
He did get locked up. He did
Deion Sanders type coverage.
But I will say, if you're the leading point scorer in the entirety of the game, I will reserve some smoke for Jamal until later. I'm going to reserve it. He's going to get it. But you're the leading point scorer of all the talented players on the basketball court, Jokić, Ant-Man, Cat included. Jamal Murray, I don't believe, has ever made an All-Star game, and Jokić and Cat have probably combined for 15 or so All-Star games. If Jamal Murray's the leading scorer, he'll get his smoke, but Shady, he's going to get it last. These other cats, James Jones, got to get their smoke first. I'm disappointed.
I feel you because they did collapse, but this is impressive by the Timberwolves in so many areas because you go up 0-2, you lose 3 straight. We had a topic on this show before we went to the weekend. Is this season a failure? That was our topic.
Yes,
will this season be a failure? Because we just knew that they were not about to win 2 in a row. To go home and win 1, get it to Game 7, you're down 20. You know how many people would tap out down 20 on the road? The mindset to stay in that game, they weren't just like cranking up threes or just trying to force their way back in the game. They stayed the course and played their type of game and clawed their way back into the ball game and took the lead and really just dominated this team in the second half. This was impressive by the Timberwolves, mentally, physically, all of that. Ant is something special. And I'm not just talking about just a basketball player, just a leader. They took on this man's mindset, kind of like the Lakers took on Kobe mindset. This team wasn't supposed to win these last 2 games. The mindset that Ant put into this basketball team and the way they delivered, he pumps his teammates up 24/7. He in his teammates' face when he got to be in his teammates' face, pushing his teammates. This young fella at 22 years old is special. The Nuggets is in trouble. The Suns is in trouble. Who else in the West? The Warriors is in trouble. They in trouble messing with the Timberwolves with what Anthony Edwards
let's pivot
and them
then,
got
James.
going on, man.
Let's pivot to that point because I, for one, Shady, Joy, James, I think that this loss is devastating. And I think it's devastating because I believe the Nuggets were supposed to be the first dynasty of the 2020s. You know, early 2000s, you had the Lakers. And then after the Lakers, obviously the Spurs, they stayed in there throughout the 2000s. You had the Heatles. After the Heatles, you had the Warriors. I believe LeBron James is a dynasty. He went to 8 straight NBA titles. He went to 9 out of 10. So he himself is a dynasty. But I thought that the Nuggets were going to be the first dynasty, Shady, of the 2020s. But you know Shady is a gambling man. You can't start a streak until you win 2 straight. If you don't win 2 hands, you ain't got no streak going. You just won 1 hand. Congratulations. But until you win 2, you can't start a streak. At least go to 2. The Nuggets got eliminated in the second round. Not the Western Conference Finals, not the NBA Finals, the second round. For me, this is devastating because how in the world can you now be dynastic if you just lost? You just lost to a team whose best player is younger than all of your great players. You just lost to a team that is built to defeat you. And now you have to start questioning the construction of your roster because what did the Joker say at the podium after the game? He said they're built to beat us. You lost 3 games at home and you got beat by 45 points. Those are your 4 losses. He said they're built to beat us. They're built to beat us, and they did. So I think this loss is devastating, Shady, because the Nuggets, in my mind, they got to start rethinking things. What do you say?
You know, one of the great players of our sport in football, Tom Brady, I got a chance to play him my last year. And one thing I took from him is he said, if you want to know something about a player, about a coach, look at what the media, what the players were saying on the opposing team. And I did that. And you talk about what Jokić said. He said, yo, not only are they fit to beat us, he started going about all the players. They have a super underrated player, Mike Conley, who's a veteran who plays well. They don't get enough credit. He's one of the best in the league at being underrated. Then he talked about the size difference.
2 7-footers.
Like, they got 2 7-footers, though. He gets foul worker, he can take over. And the 1 7-footer can shoot the trade. So if I'm a big, I gotta guard him, I gotta guard all the way outside. Then he talked about the other wings that's playing both sides,
defensive players.
From exactly. So he was going through the team like, dang.
Sound like he want to switch teams.
So when you played, when you played against him, you was already thinking this.
No question.
Right? So now when the 4th quarter rolls around, it's not a surprise. We locked up. You see the attitude change and the difference, right? The Nuggets didn't even want to be there. The Timberwolves, they didn't want to leave. They still want to be there. And the last thing, talking about the opposition, talking about what happened in the game and the players, the coach, Malone, I think he's a really, really good coach.
Yes, sir, cosign.
He says after the game that he was mad about, he didn't want to talk about the collapse, whatever, and he's talking about that they lost the game. But then he said something about the way that the Nuggets played when a game got hot. You're thinking of players, you know, your superstars to dominate. They should do this, to do that. He said they were fatigued and tired. So I'm thinking, like, if they're fatigued and tired, we talking about a dynasty? They will never be a dynasty. They can't.
Never, ever.
Can you imagine Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson saying, yo, look, we lost to the Cavs, man. You know what? We were fatigued. We were tired. We're back here again. No. Teams that want it the most, they don't complain about that. Joy said this last week how the Chiefs, even though they're winning Super Bowls and all that, every year they're playing so many more games because they're playing a long season. You think they complain about that? Hell no. Can't take the Nuggets serious talking about dynasty. Good team, right, here and there, but not no dynasty. Can't see it.
Well said. Well, powerfully said. Joy, how devastating. It's devastating at all. How devastating a loss for the Nuggets?
It's not devastating. And we should stop talking about dynasties like that. That's silly. They're not a dynasty. They're not a dynasty. We were saying the same thing about the Bucks. The Bucks are now, who's ever going to beat the Bucks in the East? You're not a dynasty until you've won 2. After you win 2, we start talking about dynasty after you win 2. Every time a team looks dominant, we start talking about dynasty. It's pointless. It's silliness. Win 2, then we start talking about it. So that's not on them. We decided to start, not me, but we
It's our Mike Malone. Remember what Mike Malone said at the press
y'all listen to Mike Malone if you want to. Okay,
yeah, Coach. Remember we went
another one,
Yeah, he said we're going back.
No, every team does that.
I'm talking about us. Like,
he's not going to lead a team and he gets traded the next week. Yeah, they all do
You
that.
can't say that and then say we fatigued. Go ahead, Georgia.
That's true.
To me, the Nuggets are going to be competitive for years to come. I don't think that they're, like, we can't just go jump all crazy. They're going to run into the Timberwolves every single year and act like this didn't just go 7. This was a very competitive series. It went all the way down to the line. The Timberwolves were better, and that's what it is. But they do still have a 3-time league MVP.
Correct.
Let's not. We just did this all the way through this series. So let's keep our wits. In 2019, they lost in the conference semis. 2020, they lost in the conference finals. 2021, they lost in the conference semis. 2022, they lost in the conference first round. Then they won a title. Then they just went 7 with the Timberwolves and lost. They have Jokić signed for 4 more seasons, MPJ signed for 3 more seasons, Gordon signed for 2 more seasons, Murray is signed for another season, KCP has a player option for next season. They're going to retool, but the core of everything that they are is still there. Yes, you don't want to lose in the second round to a young up-and-coming team, not all young, but obviously young up-and-coming in Ants, and this is the first time that they've been in this position in 20 years. So, yes, is it devastating loss because of the expectations? Of course. Is it devastating because you have a 3-time league MVP? Of course. Because you're the defending champs? Of course. Because of all those things. You were favored to coming into the postseason. Yes, it's a big loss. But I can't look at this as this is the end of the road for the Nuggets. They have a lot of basketball to play still. They'll retool. I think they'll be right back competitive again next year. It is very difficult to get to a finals every single year. I think we got a little bit spoiled with LeBron. And the Warriors. But we got spoiled with those teams and with LeBron and the Warriors thinking that every single year, just because you are a good team and you have the best player, that you're expected to be in the finals. There are other teams who have something to say about that. And the league has a lot more parity now than it's had in a very, very long time. So it really is up to who ends up with the better team in these moments, who ends up healthier. So I don't think that this is the end of the road or anything. And also, I guess we'll talk about it in a minute, but why is Jokić not getting any rest throughout the game? You have a 20-point lead. You're not going to give him 3 minutes to sit?
That's a good point.
Here's my fear, though, Joy, because I agree with everything you're saying. I just reach a different conclusion. My fear is if you're the Nuggets, you can't run it back next year. Because you can't run it back next year the same way you run it this year, because you lost with home court advantage in Game 7 to a T-Wolves team that's likely going to get better. What I mean you can't run it back is you got to try to find a way to retool or change your roster, right? You got to find a way to adjust.
Who are you changing?
No.
If you're the Nuggets, my thought process is do the same thing over and over, expect different results. You didn't lose in the Western Conference Finals. You didn't lose in the NBA Finals. You lost in round 2 to a team led by a 22-year-old Ant-Man. So are you looking at MPJ and saying, yo, we got to make a move? Or because he was atrocious in the closeout game. Obviously, he has a lot of stuff going on familially. Are you looking at Aaron Gordon and asking yourself questions? What I do know is this. At the point in which Joker went to the podium and said they're constructed to beat us, it's chess.
Yeah,
you have to do something.
They haven't gotten to the finals yet, so they have plenty more work to do. They're not going to retool the Nuggets to beat the Timberwolves. We don't know if, let's not go crazy here. Timberwolves still have a lot more work to do.
But can you...
I think they need more bench. They need more bench,
Correct.
Obviously. They need a deeper bench. And they need some depth at Jokic's position. Those two things are very obvious. But to say that they're going to blow this up...
No. I'm not saying blow it up. I'm just saying that what small tweak might the Nuggets feel like they need to make because now you didn't even get to
I think it's bench, and I think you need depth at Jokic's position.
Wait, real quick before you go, James. What other team is playing the bench players? Did you see the Timberwolves? They ain't go deep on that bench. Let's look at the Mavs. How many guys are going on the bench? When it's clutch time, we trying to win. Ain't no guy from the bench coming to the 8th, 9th player.
Yeah, but you can't have Jokić playing all but 1 minute.
But not only that, we taken away what we praised the Nuggets for since this game.
They're a good team.
Loss. We praised them for having a bench. When for the Lakers series, we was like, they got a better bench. We praised them for having a bench and having these dudes come off the bench and playing big-time minutes. That's what they do. That's why they won championships and been so consistent. This is devastating, number one, because the fear factor gone. This was not the number 1 seed in the West.
True.
And all year long, even when they went through their slumps, all we kept saying is, who gonna beat the Nuggets? Who gonna beat the Nuggets? The fear factor is gone now. Ant-Man basically said, man, these dudes ain't nothing. These dudes human just like us. They ain't got what we got. And he proved that out there. So that's gone, number 1. So coming into next season, it ain't just going to be like, oh, shoot, here go the Nuggets. There's another team on the schedule that we got to play. So that's gone for the Denver Nuggets. Number 3, they bench players don't never really play this bad. Porter didn't show up. Gordon didn't show up. The reason why they've had so much success, and I talked about it last week, is those dudes are really consistent. So now just because they lost a Game 7 because they played bad, we can't sit here and say, man, you need to retool and do all that.
The only reason I'm suggesting this is, remember, they were in Game 7. Okay. I don't believe the Nuggets should have been in a Game 7. I don't think any of us up here would have thought that the Nuggets would have gone to Game 7 with the Timberwolves before the series started. I don't think any of us are predicting that. I thought I believe, said that the Nuggets were going back to the NBA Finals. The Nuggets were the betting favorite to go back to the NBA Finals and win the NBA Finals. So as I look at it, I'm like, wait a second. Not only did you not get past them in Game 7, think about how they lost. You lost 3 games at home. So you can't sit there and say to yourself, okay, we just need home court advantage next year. No, you lost 3 at home. Think about how they lost the 4th game. You lost by 45 points. So if you do run it back next year, say we agree and the Nuggets just roll it back out there again next year. But if the T-Wolves run it back again next year, what leads you to the...
Okay, but who's to say that they're going to run into the T-Wolves? That's all about seeding and again, amazing what the T-Wolves have done. The T-Wolves now have the Western Conference to get through, and then the NBA Finals to get through. They have 2 more rounds before we start saying everyone needs to start building to beat the Timberwolves. The Nuggets are a very successful team. They've been built a very specific way. Yes, did they lose in Game 7 to the Timberwolves? Yeah, I don't think there's any shame in going to a Game 7. They're Game 7 series for a reason.
I think there's a shame if you're the Nuggets.
Why?
Because the Nuggets were the favorites to win the title. I think there's shame in losing in the second round. I think if you were the favorite,
losing in the second round was not the goal for the Nuggets this year.
Correct.
They won a championship last year. We can go back and look at the defending champions and how they finished. They did not go back for the past 5 years. They're not back in the finals. It's very hard to do. There's a lot of parity in this league. You can't, just because they lost to the Timberwolves in round 2 does not mean that they need to start building the team, constructing the team to beat the Timberwolves.
So I got a question though. Like, let's just say that these same 2 teams meet next year. You just automatically gonna say Timberwolves gonna win? So that's all I'm like. This game, it went to a Game 7 for a reason, because they can play with us and we can play with them. So just because we lost in the Game 7 don't mean like, hey man, we got to do this to the roster. This is one of the most talented rosters in the NBA. That's why we had them as the favorites. You know what I'm saying? So for me, you lost. Ant showed up, them boys showed up in your building, beat you by 20. It happens. All the excuses, they gotta go with you into the offseason. But this is still a great basketball team that they have there. I don't think it's nothing to worry about, because I think they're gonna have a chance to get back to this spot next year.
Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak, and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.